It is a Tuesday morning in the late summer, and you walk into your kitchen to put the coffee on, and there they are again on the counter. The bananas you bought only 4 days ago, gone soft already, the peels freckling brown, the tops giving way under your thumb. And you know by tomorrow half of that bunch will be sitting in a sad little pile by the sink, too mushy to want to eat and too good in your heart to throw out. And every single time you walk past them, you feel that small, quiet guilt. Because you meant to get to them. You truly did. And now they have beaten you to it. You bought 6 and you ate 2, and the other 4 are turning to mush in front of your eyes. And on Friday you will go back to the store and buy 6 more, and the whole sorry circle will start again. Now I want you to sit with this for a moment, because most folks will tell you the banana is the problem. They will tell you that you bought too many, that you should have eaten faster, that fruit just does this, and there is nothing to be done. That is not the real problem. The real problem is that nobody ever sat you down and taught you how a banana ripens, or the few plain things you can do to slow it down, so that one bunch feeds your family the better part of a month instead of the better part of a week. So let me tell you what is really going on. There is a thing you already own that costs you nothing. Plain salt, a clean towel, a bit of wrap, and a cool dark corner. And with those 4 humble things, you can take a bunch of bananas that would have rotted by Saturday and stretch it 3 weeks and more. And on the other side of that counter is a grocery system that earns good money every single time that bunch goes soft and you come back to buy another. A bunch that keeps 3 weeks in your kitchen is a bunch you did not return on Monday to replace. And that, I will tell you plainly, is the whole quiet heart of this. My name is Hannah King. I am Amish, and I keep house with my husband on our farm here in LaGrange County, Indiana, the old way, the way it was handed down to me by my mother and her mother before her. And I am going to be honest with you the way I always am, because honesty is the only thing that makes a video like this worth a minute of your time. Now, before I show you the method, let me say 2 things plainly so that you trust me. The first is this. For the folks who want the whole of it, every little money-saving way my family uses to run a household on far less, my husband and I gathered all of it into one place for you over at hannahking.com. It is there if you want it, and I will not bring it up again in this video, so do not you worry about that. The second thing is more important, and it is an honest word about what I am promising you. There is no keeping a banana bright yellow with never a spot for a month. I will not stand in my kitchen and tell you a lie you could catch me in. A banana ripens from the inside, the way the good Lord made it to, and the peel will freckle and darken no matter what you and I do about it. But hear me. A spotted peel is not a spoiled banana. You pull it open and the fruit inside is good, and most often it is sweeter than it was the day you bought it. So what I am promising you is not a month of yellow peels. What I am promising you is that you keep eating from one bunch the better part of a month, spots and all, instead of losing half of it the first week and the very ripe ones at the very end you turn into bread. Nothing wasted. That is the honest claim, and it holds up, and you will see it hold up in your own kitchen by the end of this month. Now here is the one thing most people get wrong, and once you understand it, the rest of this becomes plain as the nose on your face. A banana does most of its ripening from the stem, that top knuckle where they all join together, that crown. That crown is where the fruit breathes out, and what it breathes out is a gas. Now, the men in the laboratories have a fine name for that gas. They call it ethylene, and they will tell you that ethylene is what the scientists call a ripening hormone. We do not need to call it that. We just call it the breath of the fruit. Here is the plain sense of it. A banana breathes out this ripening breath from its crown, and that breath does not just ripen the banana it came from, it drifts over and ripens the banana next to it, and the one next to that, the whole bunch egging each other along like children at a table. That is why a bunch all turns at once. They are talking to one another through that breath, and they are all saying, "Hurry, hurry." The grocer knows this so well that he will not even tell you the warehouses where your fruit waits before it ever reaches the store. They pump that very gas into the room on purpose to turn a truckload of green bananas yellow in a single day. That is the engineer's trick. So now you and I are going to do the gentle opposite of that trick, right here on your counter, for free. And it is the simplest thing. If the breath comes mostly from the crown, then you cover the crown, and you slow the whole bunch right down. Everything I am about to show you serves that one idea. Slow the breath. Keep the fruit clean and dry so nothing molds while it waits. That is the whole of the science, and a child could follow it. So let me give you the parts list first, the way I always do, and you will laugh at how short it is, because the total cost is nothing. You already own every bit of it. You need a basin of cool water. You need about 2 teaspoons of plain table salt. You need a clean, dry towel. You need a small roll of plastic wrap, the kind already in your drawer, and if you want to be thrifty about even that, a few squares of it will wrap a whole bunch. You need a place to hang or set the fruit that is cool and dark and out of the sun. That is the entire list, not $1 spent. Now let me tell it slow, step by step, all cheap and all, with what you already have in your house this minute. First, you wash them. Fill a basin with cool water and stir in about 2 teaspoons of plain salt until it dissolves clean away. Wash each banana gently, the whole peel, and let the crown sit down in that salt water a minute or two. Now hear me, this washing does not stop the ripening, and I will not pretend it does. What it does is clean off the dust and the handling and whatever rode home from the store on that peel, so that nothing on the outside turns to mold while the good fruit inside keeps slow. A clean banana keeps better than a dirty one, the same as a clean jar keeps better than a dirty one. That is all the salt is doing. It is a gentle wash, nothing more. Second, you dry them. And this is the step most folks skip. And skipping it is the very reason their fruit molds at the tops while they did everything else right. Take that clean, dry towel and dry every banana all the way down into the crowns where the stems meet, bone dry. Any drop of water left sitting in that crown is a little wet seat for mold to sit down on and begin its work. Wet fruit spoils, dry fruit keeps. Mind that one. It takes you 30 seconds, and it is the difference between success and a moldy mess. Third, and this is the step that does the real work, you wrap the stems. First, trim away with a knife any part of the crown that is torn or bruised or weeping, because a wound ripens fastest of all. Then bind that crown up tight with a square of plastic wrap, sealing the tops away from the open air. You are putting a lid on the very place the ripening breath comes out. And you can do better still. You can break the bananas apart, one by one, and wrap each single stem on its very own. Separated and wrapped one at a time, each banana ripens on its own slow clock, instead of standing in a bunch pushing all its neighbors along. It is a little more fuss, I will grant you, but it is the honest difference between a few extra days and a good long stretch of weeks. On a busy week, I wrap the whole crown together and call it good. When I have the minute, I wrap each one alone. Fourth, you store them right. Do not pile them in a heap in a bowl. Every single place where one banana presses on, another is a bruise waiting to brown, because a bruise breaks the fruit and a broken fruit breathes out more of that ripening gas, faster. If you have a hook, hang them so they touch nothing at all and the air moves freely all around them. If you have no hook, lay them out single on a flat dish with a little space between each one, somewhere cool and dark and well out of the sun. And here is the part most folks get wrong on storage. A sunny windowsill is the very worst place in your whole house you could set a banana. The sun is heat, and heat is hurry. A cool, dim corner of the pantry with a little draft moving through is very near the best. Heat hurries the fruit along, cool holds it back, and you want it held back. Now, before I go further, let me pause just a moment, the way a neighbor would. If you want to lower your bills and waste less and stretch your groceries and run a steadier, calmer home, my husband and I keep a whole community of folks doing just that. You can ask me your questions whenever you get stuck, and there are good people there who have been keeping house this way their whole lives. The link for that is down in the description, and then we will get right back to it. Now, I should say a careful word here, plainly, the way I always do, because this matters. Some folks will tell you to put your bananas in the refrigerator, and in my house we do not. And here is the thing you need to understand before you ever try it. The cold will turn a banana's peel dark and blotchy fast, faster even than the warm counter does. And that ugly dark peel frightens people into thinking the fruit is ruined and throwing the whole thing out. Most often, it is not ruined at all. The inside can still be perfectly fine. But you must know what the cold actually does. If your bananas are already good and ripe and you want to stop them right where they are, then yes, the cold of an icebox will hold that fruit for a few days, dark peel and all, and you eat from it. But if they are still green, the cold can stall them so badly they never sweeten properly, and you will have spent your money on fruit that stays starchy and dull. So know what you are doing before you chill them, and never chill a green one you are hoping will ripen sweet. I would far rather teach you to manage them on the counter the way the old women did, before any of us had a cold box in the kitchen at all. And here is the honest scope of this, what it will do and what it will plainly not do. It will not freeze a banana in time. It will not give you a yellow peel with no spots for weeks. I told you that at the start, and I will say it again so there is no mistaking me. What it will do is roughly double or better the useful life of a bunch. From the 4 or 5 days most kitchens get to a good 2 and 3 weeks, and it will turn the very last of the bunch into something better instead of something thrown away. That is the whole honest promise, no more and no less. So let me do the plain math with you, because the math is the real reason any of this is worth your afternoon. Say a bunch of bananas runs you $1.50 to $2, and say like most households, you buy a bunch a week and throw away near half of it gone soft. That is most of $1 in the trash every week. Call it $40 to $50 a year you are quietly carrying to the bin. Now it does not sound like a fortune, and I will not pretend bananas alone will save your year. But you do not waste only bananas. You waste the bread and the berries and the lettuce and the leftovers the very same way, for the very same reason, because nobody taught you how a thing keeps. The studies the English have done say the average family throws out somewhere between $1,200 and $2,000 of food a year. A good third of all the food that comes through the door. Straight into the bin. Learn to keep one thing, the banana. And you have learned the habit of keeping everything. And that habit is worth hundreds upon hundreds of dollars a year to a careful household. The salt cost you pennies. The wrap cost you pennies. The savings runs to real money, year after year, for the rest of your life. That is not about being cheap. That is about being free. Now let me tell you who would rather you never learned a word of any of this. Walk into any grocery store in the country and look hard at how the bananas are sold, and you will see it. They are sold to move. The store wants that bunch in your cart today and gone from your counter by the week's end, soft and spotted and tossed in the bin, so that you are back through those doors come Monday buying another bunch just the same. A banana that keeps 3 weeks in your kitchen is a banana you did not come back to buy. There is a great deal of money in fruit that spoils fast and gets bought again and again. There is no money at all, none, in teaching a woman how to make one bunch last a month. So the simple old knowing sits quiet in farmhouses like mine and never makes it onto the shelf. But hear me close, because this is where I part from the angry folks. I'm not going to stand in my kitchen and tell you there is a man in a back room scheming this against you. There is not. It is worse than a scheme, in a way, and stranger, because a scheme you could expose and end. This is just a system that runs itself. Everything about how that fruit is grown and gassed and shipped and stacked and priced is built around you using it up fast and coming back soon, and not one single person has to sit down at a table and arrange any of it for it to work out exactly that way. Nobody had to plot it. The waste is not your failing. The waste is the whole point of the thing, for everyone in that chain except you. The old women kept their food because food was dear and was not to be lost. And you can keep yours the very same way and quietly step yourself right out of that current. You can be the one who never throws it away. So here is what I want you to do this week. The next bunch of bananas you bring home, do not set them in a bowl and forget them. Wash them in a little salt water. Dry them bone dry down into the crowns. Wrap those tops, the whole crown or each stem on its own, if you have the minute. Then hang them or lay them single, somewhere cool and dark, far from the sunny window. Start with that one bunch. That is the whole of it for this week. And then, when the very last few finally do go soft and dark and too ripe to want to peel and eat, do not you dare throw them out, because that is bread waiting to happen. Let me tell you how my mother turned the sorriest end of the bunch into the best loaf on the table. Take 4 or 5 of those very ripe bananas and peel them into a big bowl and mash them down with a fork until they are mostly smooth. The riper and darker they are, the sweeter your bread. So the very ones the grocery counted on you to waste are the best ones for this. Crack in an egg or two and pour in a little melted butter, about a 1/4 cup, and stir it all together. In another bowl, put about 1.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a good pinch of salt, and stir the dry together. Then bring the dry into the wet a little at a time and fold it gently until you have a thick batter. Do not beat it hard. Just bring it together. Butter a loaf pan and pour it in, and if you want it pretty, lay a few banana slices along the top. Cover it loose with a bit of foil and bake it in a moderate oven, around 350 degrees, for a little better than half an hour, until a straw poked into the center comes out clean. Now, one safe word on that oven, because it matters, do mind a hot oven near little ones, and use a clean, dry straw or toothpick to test the center, for a loaf that looks done on top can still be wet in the middle, and a wet middle is no good to anyone. Your whole kitchen will go warm and sweet with the smell of it, and you will have turned the very part of the bunch the grocery counted on you to throw away into something your family fights over at the table. Now, come back down to the comments when you have tried it and tell me how long your bunch held for you. And while you are there, tell me where you are, your county, and how old your house is, because I do dearly love to know who is out there listening and what kind of roof you are keeping a home under. We have folks from all over now, in old farmhouses and new little apartments alike, and I read every single one. And if you have an old keeping trick from your own mother or grandmother, a way she stretched a thing the rest of us have forgotten, write it down for me there in the comments. Because those little family methods are exactly the kind of knowledge that disappears for good when nobody writes it down, and the comments on this video are how you and I save them. Next time, I am going to show you how I keep a whole head of lettuce crisped down in the cellar long past when it ought to have wilted, and it is the natural next step after today, the very same kind of keeping. Until then, go wash and wrap those banana tops, and write and tell me how they held. Because there is no such thing as garbage in a kitchen run with care, there is only food you have not yet learned the use of. That is how the careful old folks did it. That is how it is still done in any farmhouse that remembers.